Welcome everyone to this, which is an online webinar on co-designing the project Shaping Connections. We'll more fully introduce the team after we screen a short video, but in welcoming everyone, I'd like to acknowledge the technical issue. Acknowledge the people of the Wirrawurrung and Boon Wurrung and language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nations on whose unceded lands we conduct our business. We respectfully acknowledge their ancestors and elders, past, present and emerging. The seminar is going to open with a short 3-minute video taken recently showing the work that has been undertaken from a co-design point of view with senior groups. And at the end of the video, I'll introduce Bernardo Figueiredo to proceed with the presentation. Thanks, Jacob.
We are in Thomastown this week, and we are working with the local communities, and the objective is to capture a different community here. This week we are working with the Macedonian, Italian and the Mediterranean community, trying to understand their experiences and trying to understand their strategies to deal with problems and barriers with ICT.
An event like today is very, very important in giving an opportunity for seniors to articulate what issues they have, what fears they've got, and particularly with technology.
We're learning about the technology, about how to use the technology, and learn more because we're getting old, so we need to understand more technologies.
We are doing the persona enrichment exercise and the scenarios exercise with them, which basically takes us to a better understanding of what's the experience of those who have English as a second language and are facing some of the ICT issues, and trying to understand what are their strategies to overcome these issues.
First, we have a presentation which is explain what we have to do today. And then we are separating the groups and we did some activity, like a group activity. We share ideas about how much we know about the technology. And we create a person like who is going to be doing some more activity and less activity with the technology of these days.
I was very impressed with today, and particularly if I focused on the summary at the end, to have the 25 to 30 people around the table all able to express what they got out of the program and also feel comfortable to make suggestions as to what now could help them, and to see representatives of different seniors groups meeting together and having that open discussion was fantastic.
It's very, very beneficial for everybody, not necessarily elderly people. It's for everybody that is interested to know technology, because technology changes every day and you have to keep up with it if you want to be on top of it. I really highly recommend this event, and as I mentioned before, it should be more often so that people can keep up with everything that is coming up.
All right, so that was the video that we saw from one of our workshops. We're going to talk more about that. I am Bernardo Figueiredo, one of the people in Shaping Connections. And these are the people that participate and compose the Shaping Connections. Torgi Arletti from RMIT, Glenn Wall and Anne Grieg from U3A Network Victoria, Diane Martin, Mike Reed, Larissa Yort, Mark Buskins, Jacob Sheehan, and Shini Shin. We're all part of what we call the Central Shaping Connections team. Next slide, please. But Shaping Connections is started as an attempt of working together, both RMIT and U3A, to better understand issues of connectedness and technology use among older Australians. We've been working together now for about 4 years. So this is a long-term partnership. And for this specific project that we are presenting today, it has been funded mostly by ACCAN, so the Australian Communication Consumer Action Network, and the city of Whistlersea, where it was mostly based. The next slide, please. Glenn, this is with you.
Thank you, Bernardo. All have accepted the invitation to today's seminar. We've had some connection with over the period of time that Bernardo has just mentioned. And we thought, to put context around the seminar, it was worth making a statement on seniors' ICT needs, but in a context as what does it mean, and what do the strategies that we've developed mean to those of you participating in this seminar today. I think it's worth very quickly just running through some of the challenges, and what we've discovered is, and I think we're all aware that scanning QR codes were quite an issue, and through that and use of technology to connect with seniors not receiving services messages, i.e. SMS reminders, transaction security codes, warnings, links to support services, is a challenge and a significant need in enabling us all to communicate or connect with seniors. That's had an effect on some of the challenges with accessing online services. We have started to build an evidence base that seniors are finding it challenging to access telehealth, participating in online shopping, search the web, and how to grapple with the shopping trolley. The lack of confidence in using online banking, and I think you'll all be familiar with senior family members and friends that are challenged with, where did I put my Gov password? How do I access my Gov? As an example, these were some of the interesting challenges that we've been observing. Missing attachments on emails. They see the attachment or they cannot open it, and many of us use emails and SMS messaging to attempt to connect with seniors. Accessing websites to join interest with others, and the confusion between downloading applications and installing applications. So it is a challenging world for seniors, but it's also a high acceptance where seniors have a need. We are finding that need is opening up an opportunity to quite well build digital literacy. So these needs of seniors we've found are leading to them not being aware of services available to them, and I think a number of you participating in this seminar from broader community and service providers. I think you'll notice there has been a trend in that space. And I think, to round it off, they're challenged in taking up services such as telehealth, online shopping, connecting with family and friends. So today's seminar, to set context, when you look at it in the context of the video clip that we've just seen, and keep these needs in mind, it will set, I think, a scene of context for the rest of the seminar. So at that point, I'd like to hand back to Bernardo, who will start the formal part of the presentation.
Yeah, I think Mike will speak first, Glenn.
Thanks, Bernardo. Thanks, Glenn.
Sorry, Mike.
That's quite all right. Look, as Glenn's noted, I'm Mike Reid, by the way. As Glenn's noted, there's increasing pressure and need, but also desire. It's not just negative. There's a positive side to this, that older adults need to be more connected and have to have improved digital skills and digital literacy and digital engagement. And certainly COVID-19, as mentioned, has really exacerbated and really pushed this issue very hard. Nonetheless, though, digital inclusion still remains a very big issue, and it forms the foundation of our research. It draws, at least our research draws inspiration from the Australian Digital Index, which looks at digital inclusion. And certainly, for between 20 and 21, there's been some improvement in inclusion brought about by things like COVID-19 and the desire to be more connected and the pressure to use more online services that have been moving in that direction. So although we've seen improvements in older adults, the 75 plus, the 65 to 75-year-old group, they still lag significantly behind the 45 to 54-year-olds and the 65 to 55 to 65-year-olds. So digital inclusion is incredibly important. The index itself looks at digital inclusion in terms of access, in terms of affordability, and in terms of ability, digital ability. And certainly our research is focused on the digital ability element of that. And when you think about digital ability, the index and the research that we've done draws inspiration from a Van Dersen scale on internet skills, and it thinks about basic operational tasks that people can do, such as connecting to the internet. It thinks about advanced operational skills, such as saving to the cloud or customizing your devices. It reflects on information navigation skills, the ability to search and to navigate and to manage data collection by other parties. And it thinks about social connection skills, deciding what you're going to share, who you're going to share it with, and how you're going to share it with, and also about creative tasks, your capacity to edit, to produce, to post content. And since 2021, the index has also included the notion of automation, with increasing the Internet of Things and connected devices throughout households. Our research, at least from the survey side, found a number of things. It found, for example, that those with less digital skills had greater anxiety around using ICT. We found that having less digital skills found people that were less inclined to be engaged with external parts of the digital economy, with shopping, with daily news reading, with accessing entertainment. But we also found that those with less digital skills were also more inclined to want to be more proficient and to learn more. So it's not just a negative story that we keep talking about. There's a very positive story embedded in this research, that there's a desire to be more proficient. There's a desire to be up to date so that one doesn't fall behind with the emerging tools and the emerging technologies. But as we know, surveying is just one part. This research and the real core of this research is around the ethnographic research, the co-design work that's been going on, and that deeper connection and deeper insight and the understanding of that total technology experience that older adults, that seniors have. So with that, I'm going to pass you back to Bernardo, and I hopefully enjoy this seminar. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Mike. So today we have basically two takeaways that we would like to imprint or share with you. The first one is about our approach to research and the method, which we think could be useful for you in some of the endeavors challenges that you've been dealing with. So we want to share our approach. And that's what the first part is going to be, just introducing it and sharing the approach. And we'll have a time for a quick Q&A, maybe 5 minutes. And the second part, we're going to introduce the toolkit that we developed through this methodology. And Torgeir is going to walk us through the toolkit, the different tools. And we have another time to do some Q&A. And we will end up by providing some links to a booklet that we are developing, and the conclusion as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so our main approach has been a co-design approach. Some of you will be familiar with co-design, but it's basically focused on a participatory approach, but not participation as in consultation. You know, when you develop something and you just consult seniors, whether they like it or not. It's participation. We talk about participation as engagement from start to finish. So from the moment that we envisioned this project to seeking funding for it, to the different stages as I'm going to go through, it has been participatory. And we also relied a lot on peer-to-peer sharing. So the fact that seniors can not only help with the process, but share. And the sharing is an important moment of our philosophy as well and approach. Next slide, please. And that yielded three basic research findings. One is around perceived ICT risks as key barriers for seniors' engagement with ICT. Sometimes they had the knowledge and the skills, but still things were not happening. They were not engaging. And we discovered that these barriers were basically perceived ICT risks. We're going to talk more about that. But we also looked at the strategies that seniors were already using, so a bit of collective wisdom to overcome these barriers. So maybe we could share some of the strategies as well. And we also created some personas that helped express how the different levels of digital literacy impacted the perceived ICT risks and strategies. Next slide, please. Again, the co-design methodology. The next one, Jacob. Yeah, so our co-design approach had 4 different stages: exploring and identifying, understanding and mapping the situation, co-designing per se, and testing and dissemination and implementing, which is the stage that we are at now. We start talking about the first explore and identify stage. This was during the middle of the pandemic, so we could not have direct contact with seniors, but we did it through many Zoom interviews that we had with seniors. And the major question was, what is stopping you from engaging with all these needs that Glenn described in the beginning? What's happening? Can we identify what's going on here? And this was really useful. Out of that stage, we got next slide. We got what we call the vignettes, the thematic vignettes. So the thematic vignettes helped us start forming the idea around the perceived risks. So there were different themes that we identified, and these themes were, for example, the risk of scams, or the risk of limited consumer abilities, or the risk of data security, and we realized that they are risks because risk perception is a belief about a potential harm or possibility of a loss. So that idea that a potential harm or a loss or fear was going to happen, and that could interfere with their relationship with technology devices, and would stop some people just freak out and leave. And so this thematic process with seniors was really important because it helped us create the items that we needed to start measuring these items against the seniors. So the next stage of working with seniors was a survey that we ran with 1,000 people. There were more than 700 valid answers, but we ran it with 1,000 seniors, asking questions about demographics, some of the data that Mike gave earlier, data on digital literacy, on influences of ICT use, exposures to scam and fraud. And it was really good because it gave us a full picture of that. And we actually produced a report that can be found online at the APO website, as well ours website. They will put the link there. But specifically to this project, what was interesting is that it allowed us also to, from that thematic analysis, to really, in a quantitative way, discover what are the most important risks that are affecting these relationships. And they were operational risks. So the risk of not knowing, password or not knowing how to do something, which is more connected to the skills. But they were, privacy risks connected to fear of losing privacy or being overexposed. The fear of, overspending, is to start going online, you can overspend. The social risk was interesting because it was more about being embarrassed, about not being able to complete these tasks in front of others. There was a purchase risk, so not being able to complete a purchase, or maybe losing money for not getting that purchase, so they're not being able to spend online and do some of the shopping online. And there were some physical risks around maybe getting addicted, or some people were concerned about that. And these were stopping people from engaging more. What we also started finding out was the basic shape of the personas that we later created, which were more, the key variables around whether they use technology or not, where they are proficient with technology or not, where they're living in a couple or where they are single, where they were men or women, some of the key factors, where they were from a cultural diverse group or not. So then we moved to what we call the third stage, which was the co-design and testing. So we had two steps. We had many groups with the City of Whistler and also with U3A in different areas. And we went to a persona enrichment where the groups, and this is what the video that you saw in the beginning was reflecting, they were invited to think about these personas and maybe project more of what they knew in that persona. It's easier to talk about problems of someone that you know than your own problems. And we created, that allowed us to have a very good picture of what the personas look like. And the second stage was about this risk scenarios. So based on those risks, we created some scenarios, and we asked seniors, if that persona is going through those risk scenarios, each one of those, what would they do? What could they do? What have you been doing? What have your friends been doing? And that allowed us to collect a number of strategies that were already, in place. The strategies could be something as simple as, if you forgot your password, just, go for a 5-minute walk. Or it could be more complex, as trying to build a network or a community around that specific issue to solve it. That allowed us to then look for patterns in these strategies and create strategies that were not just strategies for each risk, which we have in the booklet, but also strategies that are different for the different types of personas. So if someone is with low skills in technology or living alone, they would have a different set of strategies than someone that has a large network or lives with family, or has if you have some more, seniors are very diverse, so they might not know some things about technology. They could be savvy enough to be able to implement other strategies like searching for groups online, affiliating with other groups online. So we spent some good amount of time producing those strategies. And now we are in the last stage of the co-design. So participation happens in a different format here, where we share with seniors, we share with the community, which is what we're doing now with you, the tools that we have developed through the website, the booklet with the strategies, and we ask for feedback. How might you implement that with your community or with your groups? And what might be, the booklet is almost ready, but we are waiting for this feedback to finalize it and circulate to the community. So it's still an ongoing engagement. It is a broadening that co-creation process. So it's more inclusive, also organizations and government and councils that are working with that. I hope that, by describing this participatory way, you can see how different the results are. And how we achieve not just good research, but also research that is ready to be implemented. Now, moving to the next slide. Yeah, so the result of all what we did is what we call the toolkit. That involves some online tools, related to the strategies, related to knowledge online, but also a booklet of strategies that Diane is going to talk more about that. So we are going to stop now for a 5-minute Q&A. And after the Q&A, Torgeir will walk us through the different tools that we have developed and have a taste. You can have a taste of what you could be exploring later on your own. All right, Glenn, do you want to take over?
Glenn, you'll need to be unmuted there.
Wonders of modern technology. Apologies. I started by saying that the chat facility is available to log in questions, and we'd encourage you to do that. One question that's come through from Richard Joseph from Maroondah is that are we able to get a copy of the slides? Perceived risks, thematic thinknets are a good resource. The answer is yes, and there's been a response in the chat of the links, and these links will be circulated after today. There's another question come through from Joe Badcock. Would love to know how participants were recruited to this study. Perhaps, Bernardo, if I could direct it to you, then perhaps we move around the panel.
Yeah, that I'm happy to respond. For different stages, we had different strategies. So for the first stage, when we were doing the vignettes, we are counting on people that were willing to be, to talk to us on camera. Unfortunately, they had to have enough Zoom technology knowledge to go into a Zoom meeting. U3A was fundamental in that partnership, and that's why it's so important to work with the communities. With the survey, we had a different strategy. We went into the different classrooms of U3A and used their networks, people's network, as a way of reaching out to more people. With the co-design, then that's when the City of Whistlersea started, and the City of Whistlersea had the connections with the groups on positive aging, as many of you do. You have the network of volunteers, but they also the small groups and ethnic groups as well, and that's how we recruited for that stage. So different. I'm glad to speak about that as well in a private chat.
Mike, you might like to make a comment.
Really just reinforcing what Bernardo said. We drew on the U3A and City of Whittlesea resources to get people to complete an online survey and one side. So obviously people must have had access to the internet to be able to do that. But we also had a paper version of that survey to capture those who were less confident or less willing to use our online survey completion. As Bernardo said, we ended up with around 710 overall responses to the survey, and we're currently running a series of analyses around that at the moment, looking at desire to be more proficient with ICT, with engagement with the digital community, and other things related to anxiety with regard to using ICT as well. Mandy, I'll follow up with that question very quickly. Not so much in the survey at the moment, and that's probably where we'd like to push things further is deeper into the called communities to get access to those groups from different areas, different ethnic groups, different cultural groups, different language groups, so that we can broaden those findings out as we continue the research. Thank you for that.
Mike, if I could probably add to that, and there's been 2 or 3 questions about were there participants who are only English speakers. No, we went wider, and we found that within English as a second language cold communities, there was a go-to person in a community that the members of that community tended to look at as a trusted connector. And we put a lot of effort into identifying who they were. And I think we're very proud of the fact that, as you could see in the short video, that it was wider than just English speaking. Next question that's come through, Richard Joseph. Again, this study focused on ability. There are other contributing factors affecting take-up, which cost is a major factor. Will there be a follow-up analysis of these other factors? Very simple answer. We'd like to pick that up with all of you after this session, but that is being addressed as to how we could start to advocate for technology to be packaged in a way that it's more accessible cost-wise. This study's been focused pretty much on the ability of seniors. Sue Sheldrick, does the strategy booklet include a list being generated as the research continues of trusted resources to counteract the perceptions? E.g., do not call, register. We'd align with your comment that it's not a register, it's a building through the booklet a resource base that the co-design approach or collaborative approach opens up the ability for all of us to share those resources. Does any of the other members of the panel like to make a comment to Sue?
Yeah, this is the type of feedback that we are looking forward with the booklet. So when you receive a link later to comment on this presentation and whether you want to receive the booklet, we'll also have a space for these type of questions, because if there is a way that we can better frame the information that's already there in a way that helps, we are happy to do that. We also plan, I mean, we haven't finished the project yet, so we also plan to develop a series of what we call implementation workshops, where once we start working more closely with the organizations, we are going to compile a list of strategies, not so much for seniors, because the booklet is written for seniors, so the language is directly for seniors, but for the organizations that are working with seniors and how to best implement that. But again, because our process is participatory and co-design, we need to go through some of these implementations with some of you to be able to better understand and then back circulate that information as well. Maybe we can go to the demo a little bit.
I'll take one more question. Sorry, Bernardo. There's one more question we'll take now, and there's a couple of others we'll pick up in the second question and answer session. Emlyn Jenkins from DPV Health has, I've just lost the question, sorry, has commented, background on this project is fantastic to hear, thank you. Very interested to hear if community participants were provided anything in return, in brackets, reimbursements, for their valued contributions and time to the co-design focus groups. Also, how are they provided with updates on how their contributions are used? Bernardo, you might like to.
Yeah, I will. This is so it's a very good question, and we used a two-pronged approach. So on the one hand, there was some incentive to basically just a gift voucher, sometimes depending on the time, $30, sometimes $50. It was not a lot, but it was a way of us of showing that we are grateful for their time. But more importantly than that incentive, which is local, that's not why people were doing it. We see them as a community that we keep as a close contacts. So, for example, everybody that participated in the generation of the co-design strategies, they were also, when we started creating the booklet, they were the first to be consulted again on whether that made sense or not. So the booklet was then produced and sent back to them. And now that once the booklet is fully ready, they will be the first to receive the latest version. So we treat them as our special consulting group, and we try to keep a relationship where if there is any questions about the process of the community, we are able to answer and provide a quick reply. I think that's the model that we're trying to implement.
Thanks, Bernardo. We'll close this question and answer session, and I'd like to reintroduce Bernardo, who will cover an overview of the digital outputs in the tool kit and in turn introduce Torgeir. Thanks, Bernardo.
Yeah, I think Torgeir will go directly from here. Torgeir is one of our RMIT colleagues, and he has been working very closely with the generation of the tools, the implementation, and this is also like a digital marketing professor in our school, so he will be a good person to demonstrate what we've been able to achieve.
All right, thank you, Glenn, and thank you, Bernardo. I'm excited to show you a little bit from our website. And so our website, shapingconnections.org. If you haven't visited, maybe Jacob can put a link in the chat there as well, so you can have a look on the site together with me. The site is designed as a hub for all the insights that's coming out of our ongoing collaboration with U3A. So just sort of very quickly, so this is you can look at an overview of the project, all the things that we're doing, and I know Bernardo mentioned as well that we already have an extensive report based on the findings from the interviews that we did initially, and also from the survey, and you can find that report on the website here under current focus. So that report sits down here, and also from the interviews that we did initially with members of U3A and also some of the teachers at U3A. About risk perception that Bernardo talked about a lot. You can find those video vignettes under findings and under perceived risk and ICT here. So you click on there and there will be is it 25 videos, video vignettes that highlights different perceptions of risk as discussed by our research participants here in these videos. So we have them sort of categorized, so financial risks, scamming, overspending, escalation of costs, and so forth. So there's a whole range of, I'm not going to go into all these in detail, but there's a whole range of video vignettes here that seniors articulate how they experience and perceive these different types of risk associated with ICT. Now, what I want to talk about in particular is the toolkits that we have designed that comes out more directly from the current focus and the grant that we've had with ACCAN and the collaboration with City of Whittlesea and U3A. Clicking on that. It's my university internet that's moving a bit slow, it seems. Non-responsive. It's probably the worst thing that could happen. Let's refresh that page. And here we go. We are into the tools. So coming out of this, we have three different tools. So these tools is one is about it's a self-assessment tool that you can assess your internet skills. The other one is about the sources that people use to advance their ICT knowledge. And the one I want to start with is the one Bernardo talked about the most, and that's the strategies for improving ICT knowledge. So within this, it's based on those personas that we enriched through these workshops and through these co-design sessions that we had with seniors. So we have developed here 4 distinct different personas. So those personas are meant to be sort of prototypes and representatives of seniors out there in the real world, and they have been co-designed through these workshops. So as we can see, they have different levels of digital literacy, different levels of perception of risk of engaging with technology, and also different characteristics that live in different places, different relationships, and different evaluation of their health and so forth. So of course, these different personas will have different strategies of overcoming these risks that they associate with technology. I think I'm having a Margaret day. I'm feeling like Margaret today. So let's click on there and have a look at that. And so this opens up then the profile of the persona Margaret. And down here we have the 6 categories of risk that Bernardo mentioned in the presentation. So you can hover over that, and it will give a little bit of a broader description of that particular category of risk. So the idea is that users will then go in and identify with Margaret the most. So clicking on that persona, and then you can look at these different types of risk and see what they're about. And then click further on to the ones that you feel, oh yeah, this looks interesting, I can relate to that. So let's say, for example, worried about online transactions. Yeah, that's something that I relate to in particular. So let's have a look at what that's all about. And then you click onto that to that perception of risk. And then you can read a little bit more about it here with a link back to one of our video vignettes as well. That talks about online banking in particular, and then when we click view more, we get into more detailed examples of how this was felt by someone that fits the particular persona in question here. So that's also based on these co-design sessions. So it was typical sort of things that happen. Margaret tried online banking. Transfer money to a friend after dinner, and then she sent $2,000 instead of 200. I may have a laugh about it, but still, she's now concerned about afraid of sending money, and rather have her leaving that to her husband, not wanting to do that again herself based on that experience. So if you relate to that, you can keep clicking next, and here's another example here as well, and then you click next on that. And then if this is something you then say, well, oh yeah, I can relate to those examples. This sounds like it could be me or someone close to me. Then you click on go to strategies, and that opens up the strategy page. That sort of gives a little introduction here of how to deal with this, or what this particular risk perception is about. And then firstly, we have a set of individual strategies of how to manage these purchase risks, and they are sort of ranked based on this particular persona. So what will this particular persona find to be, what are the most accessible type of strategy you can deal with here? The first one is very basic. Just be kind to yourself, and recognize that it will take a bit of time when you're learning something new. Sort of relating back to that example of bad example of experience of trying to transfer money with your mobile phone. So these are the sort of very basic things that people can do to sort of boost their confidence, and this goes down to more advanced type of strategies, such as using PayPal instead of credit cards when you pay for things, or contacting your financial institutions. So more sort of advanced things. So those are the things you can do for yourself. And the other type of strategies that we have are those that are relational. So those are the strategies that people can do together with others. Again, they go from the very basic ones, ask family members or friends that shop online to provide references for how to do things safely and so forth, going on to the more advanced things, such as joining courses and so forth. and you scroll down, and then here you have again overview of the different types of risks. So then you can go in and look at another type of risk, or you can then go back again as well. Go back, and then you can switch, look at a different persona, which will give you different types of risks, and also different solutions to the problems, and different examples, of course. So I'll go back to the beginning again. So yeah, I would also like to mention that we have 4 personas there at the moment. We have worked with these cult groups as well. So we have 2 more personas that will be coming on there very shortly, that will represent people from minority groups, in addition to those that we have there now. So yeah, let's look at this tool here, the self-assessment of internet skills, which is one of my personal favorites. So from this tool is a way that people can self-assess how confident they feel around technology, and from there they will get like you can download a chart that shows your skill level, and you can bring that to your friends and share it with your friends, and as such work on these things together. So here we just talk about in general what we mean by internet skills, and why they are important, and what you need them for. And we can then click on interactive tool. That will take us to the tool itself. And here we can see there's sort of 20 basic questions, which is based on prior research, and was also some of the measures that we used in our survey. And we try to make this really simple, so that you just sort of you look at these statements. Are you comfortable performing this task on your own? Yes, no. Download files and photos from the internet. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. And so forth. And then that tool will just sort of continue to move down as you answer those questions. I'm just clicking through here now so I can show you the end of it, which will then come to the end here, and then you can click on see my results, and that gives you this nice little radar chart that gives you this sort of nice illustration of your internet skills in each one of those categories. So for each question that you answer yes, you're confident, that will then give you a score out here between 0 and 4. And then you can click download, and that will just download an image of that radar chart for you to save for later. And then you can go to learn more, and that will then give you this overview of these 5 different categories. Once you know where you sit within each one of them, and when you click on the learn more here, it gives an overview of what this particular category of internet skill is all about, why you need those particular skills, what you need them for, and also what our research said about how seniors in Australia perceive their capacity in this particular risk. So you can sort of benchmark yourself a little bit as well towards the broader public. Realize that I need to speed up my talk here a bit, so I'm going to very quickly go to the last tool, which is about the sources of ICT knowledge. And the idea with this tool is that people use a lot of different sources when learning about ICT. So where do you go when you need help? And the most common source that people go to, so you can just click through here, learn more, and I will give you the overview of the most common sources that came up in our research. The most common source is children, but that's not always the most useful source. So when you click on each one of these sources, it gives an overview of what our research says about each one of them, how people perceive them, and what are the benefits and the problems by using this particular source. And the idea is to broaden people's view of where they get their information from, because our research also confirms that it is the second source that people use that actually leads to or is associated with their level of knowledge in ICT. So having more than one source is important, and this tool is meant to help with broadening the horizon as such. I'm going to leave it with that, and happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Torgeir.